Hey there, it's Pete Thorn. Welcome to my studio. Thanks for joining me. This is the first video in my UA Guitar Tones series. So in these UA Guitar Tones videos, what I'm going to be doing is crafting a guitar tone from scratch by plugging my guitar into my Apollo interface from UA, and then within the UA console application and also within Logic, I'll add some UA plugins and just try and make some really cool guitar tones. So each video will start out with a song that features the guitar tone, and I want to really, show you what it sounds like within a musical context right out of the gate. And then after the song's over, I'll break down each tone plugin by plugin and show you what each plugin is doing to affect the sound. My goal then is also to save the sound as a UA console preset and then somehow make them available to you guys so you can load them up within UA console and use them yourselves if you like the sound. So I really want to come up with some great tones here, some world-class stuff that I would be happy to use on any session or on a record, because I think it's really incredible what you can come up with using these great plugins these days. Organic sounds, out of this world kind of sounds, it's all in there and it's a blast. You might even come up with some sounds using plugins that would be next to impossible to come up with using a traditional guitar rig. So I'm just going to have a lot of fun with it and try and be creative and write some cool tunes in the process as well. So in this first video, the sound that I came up with, I'm going to call Vibey Strat. I wanted to make a really organic guitar sound that complemented my Stratocaster guitar really well, and you heard the tone at the beginning of the video. So let's break that tone down now, and I'll show you what each plugin is doing to affect the sound. Okay, so first up I want to show you what the straight up dry guitar sound, just DI, sounds like. This is my Strat plugged into the Apollo interface, recording into Logic, no plugins. Okay, so that's the core tone we're going to work with. Now we're going to add in all these great plugins and shape a really cool sound. Okay, so in UA console, first up on the preamp slot on channel 1, I've got the UA610B preamp module inserted there. Now this is a model of the original UA610 preamps that came in the original UA consoles way back in the day. And they sound great. You can drive them hard or just use them real clean, whatever you want. There's a simple 2-band EQ in there. I'm using it to just pump up this signal, basically add a bunch of gain to the sound, and really just prep it for the next plugins in line. Okay, so you hear me toggle on the UA610B now. Okay, so adding a bunch of gain warms things up. It's really necessary for this sound. Okay, next up in line, I've got the Roland Re 201 Space Echo plugin. So just a killer tape delay with also a spring reverb built in. I used to have an original one of these back in the day, and without even using the echo or the reverb, just putting it in front of your amp just warmed it up and made it sound cool. And guys like Brian Setzer still use them to this day. They're modern classics. Okay, you'll hear me turn on the Re 201. Okay, and it adds a real cool dimension to the sound. Yes, there's echo there, but it's imperfect echo. There's a bit of wow and flutter, which sort of translates as modulation, and also a little bit of distortion on the repeats, and just adds a ton of vibe. Sounds great. Okay, but next up, we've got probably the most important plugin in this chain, which is the Engel E765RT amp modeler plugin. And I say it's the most important because this is really what's going to make it sound like I'm playing through a guitar amp. Okay, a really cool, sophisticated plugin. There's 2 channels. Okay, a clean channel and a dirty channel, just like you would find on a channel switching amp. There's bright switches, gain boosts, full EQ on each channel. You've got a simple delay in there that I'm not actually using for this sound, a noise gate if you want to use that, just a lot of tone shaping tools. Bunch of different speaker cabinet models and microphone models in there as well to pick from to shape the tone. So I just picked something that sounded good to me, and you'll hear me turn on the Engel amp model now. Okay, so now we're really getting somewhere. It sounds like I'm playing through a mic'd up guitar amp now. So the Engel amp modeler, also designed in conjunction with Brainworks, I should mention. They make some really cool stuff. Next up, to shape the tune. I've got the UA-1176AE compressor limiter. Okay, so this is a terrific recreation of the original 1176 compressor. I love compression on my clean sounds. You know, they make everything easier to play and just even everything out. The older I get, I like things easier to play. So it's really an important component of my clean sound is compression. So you're going to hear me turn it on now and hear what it does to the tone. Just makes things sustain beautifully, and you know, evens out chords, and you know, just really adds a lot to the tone, I think. So those are the plugins that I'm adding within UA Console, and this really shapes, you know, the core fundamental of this sound. So I'm also adding a couple plugins within Logic. I've got them set up on sends on the channel that I'm recording on. And basically, first up is a EMT 140 plate simulation. Okay, this is just a terrific sounding reverb plugin that models the original EMT 140 plate reverb. And it just sounds absolutely gorgeous. So you'll hear me turn it on now. Okay, love that. Sounds terrific. I've got it set pretty wet, but it sounds great, so what the heck. Okay, so next up, last but not least, is the Rowland Dimension D plugin. Now, back in the day, Dimension Ds were used by guys like my buddy Steve Stevens, for instance, in the 80s to come up with some really cool modulated guitar tones. So it's a really cool and exceedingly rare box these days, so great to have it in a plugin. I'm going to shut the reverb off for a second and just toggle on the Dimension D because it'll be easier to hear what it's doing to the tone without the reverb there. Okay, so reverb off, here comes the Dimension D. So I'm using it in a very subtle fashion that's capable of much more extreme effects than what I'm using it for. I'm giving it the sound just a little bit of stereo spread. It'll probably be most noticeable on headphones. Okay, and once again adding the reverb back in, and this is the complete tone with all the plugins. There you have it. Thanks for watching the first video in my UA Guitar Tones series. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be coming up with some more tones real soon. You can learn more about the plugins I used in this video at uaudio.com, the Universal Audio website, and there's a great blog on the Universal Audio website as well, where producers and musicians post all kinds of tips and tricks in the way that they use plugins. So be sure and check that out because it's a really great resource. Alright, I am Pete Thorn, and we will see you next time.